Growing up in the late 80s and early 90s was, in my entirely biased, rose-tinted opinion, an amazing time to be a kid, being fortunate enough to have been graced with an NES, and all the mainline Mario games, and eventually having a Super Nintendo, and the best launch game a system could have. I had easily become enamoured of the plumber and his bright and colourful adventures on the primitive CRT of the day. Of course, taking part in his adventures by directing him with a magical peripheral that lets you control every iota of movement at will was not where it ended, as somehow Nintendo made a deal with a well-known Western animation company to create a series of episodes revolving around the exploits of the American-Italian plumber. Yes, back then he was considered American-Italian, primarily because he hailed from the city of Brooklyn, while also flaunting his enjoyment for pasta. Is he just full-on Italian now? The deal to create the series of Mario cartoons has become more than just that. Instead, they ended up creating 3 different series for the franchise, each being themed to the respective installments of the franchise. The Super Mario Bros. Super Show heavily focused on the elements of Super Mario Bros. 2, being the newest game at the time, but it also borrowed elements from the first game, such as the Fire Flower, the Starman, and various enemies from the original games such as Koopas and Goombas. The Adventures of Super Mario Bros. 3, as you can guess, was pretty much grounded entirely within the world and rules of the third NES adventure. The final show was simply called Super Mario World, no additional words here. As time went on, the show was more than likely losing traction and ratings, because as the next series carried the torch from the predecessor, it seems there was this pattern of less and less episodes being produced overall. The Super Show had an original run of a mighty 65 episodes. Then, Super Mario Bros. 3 got sliced down to just less than half of that with 26 episodes. Then finally, Super Mario World being downscaled to half of that with a meager 13 episodes. And yes, I am aware that part of the reason that Super Mario World had so few episodes was because Captain N, the Game Master, was one of the other Nintendo-themed cartoons alongside it. But where I come from, and from the basic network that I watched it on growing up, Super Mario World was the only thing airing in syndication at the time as far as I recall. Anyway, despite its very short run, and as dumb of a show as it really was, I actually had a fondness for the Super Mario World show in general. Yes, it had some concessions such as getting rid of Toad, which you might think would be a good thing, but then they decide to replace him with a far worse and even more annoying tag-along supporting character. More on that in a bit. The change of scenery and setting ultimately makes a lot of episodes feel more lame with how they often are framed around teaching the civilians how to do various things instead of being more focused on the evil scheme that King Koopa is up to. And there isn't as much variety or creativity in a lot of the episodes as a result of this. That said, I still have a really big soft spot for the series and its sheer goofiness. With that out of the way, Christmas is less than a week away from now, so I figure it would be fun to review an episode of the show. Naturally, the episode in question is themed around the time of Christmas, going by the name of The Night Before Cave Christmas. The episode starts with Mario, Luigi, and Princess Toadstool, yes, that was her name back then, sitting down having a picnic, but they quickly realise that Yoshi and this little blonde cave boy are fighting over a big piece of meat, of which neither are willing to give up, so they have a tug of war until they both cause a mess. Mario wishes that Yoshi and the cave boy would get along better, because they are both usually fighting with each other most of the time. Apparently the cave boy's behaviour has been rubbing off on all of caveman society, as it seems most cave people are at each other's throats, shouting at one another and bonking their heads with their fists. I know cave people are supposed to be violent, but this just seems kinda silly to me when a typical cave person would have access to a club or something. Speaking of, I noticed this silly animation goof where for some reason this dude, who does nothing with the club he is holding, having his club suddenly rotate 90 degrees on the very last frame of the scene. Not sure if this was intentional or not, but it seems kinda funny. Mario then has the idea to settle the caveman society by remembering that in his world, everyone would be generally more nice around the holidays. Luigi stops Mario to claim that bringing Christmas to Dinosaur World wouldn't really work for a pretty simple reason.
You know how everyone gets nice to each other around the holidays?
Hey, you mean like Christmas? You popped your plunger, big brother. It's the middle of August.
We're in Dinosaur World, Luigi. We can have a Christmas anytime we want. The cave people don't know it doesn't come in the summer.
Well, I guess that would make sense, that if you introduce a new foreign concept to people, they wouldn't know about the prerequisites that would allow it to be a thing. Alright guys, Christmas is cancelled, I'll see you guys in 8 months.
My corn.
My corn!
My cabin!
We'll call it Cave Christmas.
What that?
It's a day when everyone's nice to each other.
Ooga boring, man.
Ugh. Yeah, I guess I should bring this up now for the uninitiated, but this jerk right here, his name is Uktar, and as you might have guessed, he is kind of an asshole. And yes, this is the character that they thought would be a great idea as the new stand-in for Toad from the original 2 series that preceded this one. It can be easily argued that Toad from the older shows has a pretty annoying personality himself, being a bit of a scaredy cat, having a high-pitched voice, and mostly being all around useless. But occasionally I kind of saw a charm in his character, and despite his shortcomings, I always appreciated the fact that he always means well. Hell, there's a whole episode all about him donating money to the Mushroom Orphanage, losing the money by accident, and going out of his way to get some friends to help him win a local wrestling tournament to win the prize money in order to donate it to said orphanage. Maybe I will review that episode someday. It's one of the better ones from the Super Mario 3 series actually. But yeah, when you compare Toad to his replacement, there's simply no question at all that Uktar has very much no redeemable qualities. He's just an abrasive brat through and through. So Mario further explains the concept of Cave Christmas, in which kids are given lots of sweets, to which naturally both Yoshi and Uktar really like the sound of. Mario also explains that during Cave Christmas, a man by the name of Santa Claus gives children presents, but only if they've been well behaved. Naturally, Uktar has reservations about this condition, seeing it as more of a catch for him personally.
And there's this nice guy named Santa Claus who brings presents to all the kids who've been good.
Only good kids?
That's right, Uktar.
Dino bummer, dude.
So Mario begins to set his plan into motion of getting Cave Christmas underway by apparently only putting up one piece of decoration throughout the whole caveman community and declaring to the cave people to enjoy it, and apparently it goes over well. Yeah, it's likely that there are lots of decorations everywhere, but I find it funny that he used the one establishing shot and failed to convey how much decorating has been done since the scene transition. I also find it funny to note that for some reason they felt it to be festive to decorate the candle ring with a friggin' bone. Yeah, it sort of makes sense when they're in the land of cave people and dinosaurs, but when you really stop to think about it, you have to wonder who that bone may have originally belonged to, and if they like the idea of having one of their bones inserted into a circle of leaves and berries just to make a bunch of uncivilized Brits feel good about themselves. Maybe I'm thinking on this a little too hard.
Merry Cave Christmas, everyone!
Cave Christmas? What's that pipe squeezer up to now? It's the hottest day of the year.
You know, I don't think it would be very wise for you to eavesdrop on Mario's activities when to do so you have to squeeze yourself into a very confined space under a solid lid on what you would describe as the hottest day of the year. You're going to die from heat stroke being cooped up down there. So it turns out the candle ring placed earlier was something of an inaugural decoration, as it now seems to be the beginning of the real decorating of the settlement as Mario, his crew, and even the cavemen start cutting down trees, while King Koopa continues to spy on their activities while planning his move.
Remember, Yoshi, Santa Claus only brings presents to good children.
I know you mean well, Yoshi, but maybe you should just keep those candy canes and put them back in your mouth. That's just gross. The work continues as Mario and his friends work in their own little workshop, building toys to gift to the cave boys and girls on the night of Cave Christmas. Uktar, meanwhile, being the dick that he is, takes it one step further than raiding the parents' closet for the presents, is inside the workshop spying on the built gifts, effectively seeing what kind of toys he could get before they're even finished, let alone in secretive storage.
Oh!
With preparations for the impending Cave Christmas wrapping up, Princess Toadstool expresses her excitement for the day to arrive, not realising that King Koopa has his own plans for that day as well.
I can't wait to see all those happy children on Cave Christmas morning.
You're gonna wait a long time, Princess, because these toys are going to my Koopa kids on Koopa Christmas morning.
It is now Cave Christmas Eve in the evening, and being the absolute bastard that he is, Uktar sneaks into the toy workshop one more time after Mario and friends retreat for a break, attempting to sneak out from the sack all the good toys for himself, and thankfully getting a little more than he bargained for.
Uktar, get caught!
Are those cave kids gonna whimper when they find out I cooped all their toys? Merry Koopa Christmas, boys and girls!
So, what do you think?
Don't try wearing it in Brooklyn.
The toys! They're gone!
And I know who stole them. Koopa! Look, here's one of his scales.
Yeah, this might be a little bit of nitpicking, but I find this little tidbit of information pointing to him to be the culprit as incredibly odd for a couple of reasons. One, counting the previous Mario cartoon series, it's been pretty well established at this point that almost every single time it was him that was responsible for when something bad goes down. You could argue that Uktar could have stolen every toy, and he was trying to steal at least some of them, but clearly he was way too little to drag the entire bag out of there like it was nothing. Secondly, one of his scales. I know that Koopa is supposed to be this big turtle lizard dude, but I look at this and wonder, when has he ever shed or dropped scales from his body? Especially when he was barely there for just a minute just to grab the sack and make off with it. I guess they needed some sort of evidence to point toward him being the mastermind of the toy heist, but again, the show already points to Koopa without ever needing any, so I don't understand why they decided to do that now.
Only one thing to do. Go to Neon Castle and get them back.
So Mario and wing-powered Yoshi fly their way over to Koopa's castle on a sled in order to get the toys back. Meanwhile, Koopa is about to check out all the loot that he nabbed from the workshop earlier that evening, only to realise that there is an extra annoying gift waiting for him inside the sack.
What are you doing in my bag of toys?
Your bag? These my toys.
They're mine.
Yeah?
Give it back.
Mine now. Ooga Bamba. Give Babam to own kids? Ugh, glad you not my dad.
Holy shit! There's a bomb in one of those gift boxes?
Stop! You're not supposed to go out till Christmas!
That was really a bomb? Just a sick world we live in. Sick people.
I really don't understand who among Mario's friends would be so cruel as to put a bomb inside a present box for an unsuspecting kid on Cave Christmas morning, unless the present was supposed to be for Uktar. Then I could totally see it as being justified. So Uktar uses this opportunity to try and escape the castle, only for Koopa to grab the cave boy to put him in a torture chamber where he dangles over a ravenous hungry dinosaur in the pit below.
Remember, Uktar spelled backwards is rat goo.
Okay, I gotta be totally honest, I would not at all be surprised if in the conceptual phase of this show's production that someone came up with the name of Uktar purely to make this joke somewhere in the series. It is quite easily the best joke in the entire episode, as stupid as corny as that is. You know what? I'm going to call him Ratgoo from now on. So with Ratgoo's life on the literal line, Mario and Yoshi arrive right outside the castle walls, and Mario tries to break in by prying the exterior window bars and entering.
Give Santa a push.
Old Santa need go on diet.
Santa is not going on a diet. Push harder.
Look, Mario, you don't need to lose weight to slip between those bars. Unless your goal is to also break your friggin' arms off, you really shouldn't be wrapping them around the bars as you're trying to force your body through the opening. So both Mario and Yoshi get inside the castle and begin exploring the corridors and rooms too. The fuck? I was saying Mario and Yoshi are now searching for. Where is that music coming from? Oh right, I forgot the show does that. This has been an ongoing tradition for the Mario cartoons, but episodes of the show would often cut to something of a small montage of action sequences, backed up by a musical interlude themed around the episode or situation. It's a really weird thing to experience for the first time, and admittedly I completely forgot that this was a part of the episodic formula used in the show. It was probably something that the kid in me really enjoyed back then, because the music added some variety both audibly and visually. But listening to it now... So, after the audience goes deaf by the incredibly out-of-tune singing, Mario and Yoshi finally find the torture room, and Mario with his quick thinking and the aid of the cape power-up found during the montage, manages to rescue Ratgoo before he dropped into the pit with the hungry dinosaur. Ratgoo is a little more thankful that Mario, who is still dressed as Santa Claus at this point, saves him, but he and Yoshi decide to scold him for trying to steal and open all the presents to himself.
You've got some explaining to do. Haven't you opened all of Santa's presents already?
Me sorry. Uktar not been good.
Oh really? I didn't notice.
Not been good? Uktar been bad.
I am reveling in scolding Ratgoo as much as you are, but holy shit Yoshi, I think you need to go and visit an opticians or something.
Uktar promised be good cave boy for the rest of life. Cross Uktar heart.
And cross Uktar's fingers, too.
How Santa know?
Santa was a boy once himself, Uktar.
So Mario, Yoshi and Ratgoo escape back to the sled outside of the castle and get ready to take off with the sack of toys in tow. But oh no, we've got a minute left to fill, so we're going to have to create one more source of conflict that gets instantly resolved.
Step on it, Yoshi!
Ooh, no can do. Yoshi no got wings.
That was easy.
So they make it back to Ratgoo's home and tuck him away in bed so that they can finish delivering the presents around town before morning. And Ratgoo apparently has a radical shift in character as a result of the events that transpired that night.
Me no Uktar bad, cause Santa big trouble. No deserved present. But Uktar thankful Santa saved me from dinosaur. That present enough.
Why, Uktar, this isn't like you.
Course, if Santa won't leave Uktar present, Uktar be very happy.
Oh, fuck right off, Ratgoo. You're not being sincere and thankful. You just proved that you have and always will be a gigantic dick, who only does what he wants in order to get what he wants, pushing your luck and pushing the threshold of everyone around you just because you're a psychotic, manipulative asshole who only thinks about himself and doesn't give a shit about the rest of the world, as long as he reaches his own selfish goals. Fuck right off the dinosaur hell, you obnoxious, talentless little excuse for a character replacement. Mario ends up leaving a present for Ratgoo anyway, and then heads off to deliver the remaining presents. Why, after all of Ratgoo's clear behavioural problems, Mario leaves him a gift anyway is beyond me. But what the fuck ever. The episode ends in the morning of Cave Christmas, where Ratgoo sneaks into Mario's house while he's sleeping in order to give him a present of his own.
Uktar!
Merry Cave Christmas, Mario dude.
Just a sick world.
Wouldn't it be nice if every day were Christmas?
Yeah, as long as Ratgoo isn't there trying to fuck your shit up with deadly bomb gifts or stealing everyone else's toys. The night before Cave Christmas is a particularly weird episode as far as a cartoon series having an obligatory Christmas themed episode is concerned. Normally when you see an episode with the theme of Christmas, they usually change the visuals of the established scenery to make it feel more cozy and wintry like you would expect to get you in the mood for the holidays. But as mentioned by Luigi, the episode takes place in practically the opposite end of the year, where it is at its hottest, and save for some decorations and toys strewn about, everything about this episode from a visual standpoint just feels like another regular day. 10-minute episodes are already fairly short, but I was kind of surprised to see just how little screen time that the villains got in this one. Koopa only appears on screen for a total of around 1 minute and 40 seconds, most of that being toward the end of the episode. And not only do one of the Koopa kids barely show up on screen, but late into the episode they establish one of them shouting from inside the castle chasing Mario down, and it's the same Koopa kid that's shown up earlier in the episode, and not one of the other 6. I guess the remaining voice actors were quitting early to go for a winter break themselves. There was also some weird and funny visual goofs in here, but that's kind of par for the course for old geek cartoons, especially in the final of the 3 Mario cartoons where it feels like they got hit the hardest in the animation budget department. No, seriously, compare the episodes of Super Mario World to the Adventures of Super Mario Bros. 3, and you can kinda tell that Mario World felt like a big step backwards in terms of the artwork and presentation. It's kind of a shame, really. And of course, the interlude segment leading to the episode is quite easily the most eyebrow-raising thing not only in the whole episode, but the series in general. Again, this was something I loved as a kid, but watching it now, I hate to use the word cringe, but yeah, it was exactly that. It doesn't help that the song was sung by all the voice actors who played the roles of the Koopa Kids, basically singing the lyrics in the actual Koopa Kid voices. Yikes. Despite all the flaws though, I still feel that big soft spot in me for the series, backed up by some good old nostalgia. Maybe I will try my hand at reviewing one of the other 12 episodes in the future. I could always do with a good excuse to shit on Ratgoo again.
Dino bummer, dude.